I'm Bobby.
And I'm Nathan.
And this could be
a podcast. I'm going to jump all over you. I'm on top of you. Podcasting.
Well, the other thing, too, that YouTube comment videos or YouTube comments, they make me feel like I'm a bad reader when they just have horrible grammar. And I'm like, oh, no, this
is all over the place.
This is a really hard sentence to read because it's so poorly written.
Also,
this thing should be in prison. DUI killing man.
What a disgusting, pathetic, drunken excuse of a human being.
So
the
Casey,
same welty
yep.
bitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
The same bitch. Yeah. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're looking at this woman who was on a local news interview show, like a 5-minute show about community events, community businesses, and everything like that.
She started a new business.
Like
a wellness company.
Yeah, like a spa wellness company. And she so happens to be a white woman named Nicole Hutchinson, who is also a woman who in Texas ran over a DOT worker and killed him.
Oh, wow.
And when she was arrested, she said to the arresting officer that you're going to regret this. I'm rich. All right. So there's a lot of malice for that Nicole Hutchinson in Texas. But this poor woman in Iowa, who's not the same person, never killed a man as far as I know. That we know of. Has received this visceral YouTube hate on this little video where she's just talking about her business she started.
So weird.
And then the amount of rational people coming in being like, this is not the woman you're looking for.
It's a different person.
They're like, it appears to be the same person.
Well, does it? I mean, that's the problem with sharing a name.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the lack of follow-up is what I'm like, here's a nice thread of,
oh my God. This
is a back and forth. And again, this woman in Texas seems to be a real see you next Tuesday.
She's a problem.
Right. She served 450 days of a 10-year sentence, apparently, is what it was.
I don't understand that. I don't understand jail sentences. Maybe it's just all like weird, funny math for me. It's like, no. You only serve this amount. I feel
it depends on how good your lawyer is.
Well, no, I'm not saying about like the good lawyer thing. It's for me, it's the, hey, if I'm sentenced to like, that's the sentence, right? Not like,
But that's what probation court is all about. That's what.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
That's where if you have, mind your P's and Q's, have a really good lawyer, who has connections. Sure. Don't give them a reason to keep you in there. No priors. That's the big thing too. Where I don't want to see like I'm well versed.
You're well versed in the criminal justice system.
Well, in like getting around a long prison sentence. Knock on wood. Never been sentenced to any prison time, but
that I know of.
Yeah, but it's a weird form in this specific case. It's a weird form of racism that's going on here.
Having not.
I'll just
can
explain
I find the picture of the actual lady?
Yeah, I'll show you.
I'm curious. Just I want to see like a side by side of these people.
I did my own. Before I find it, I just wanted to let you know that I went through the same thing. Outside of commenting on the YouTube about it,
yeah,
I found the link that one of these people did and watched the news feed, that the news story and stuff that they did, and was like, oh yeah, wow, did she just move up to Iowa? Wow, oh did this really happen? And then watching it, seeing another picture of her, I'm like, oh no, those are two separate people. Those are two white blonde women. And when you're shown like just a flash of them,
sure,
you're like, that's the same fucking bitch.
Yeah. Listen, could I see somebody being? I mean, I'm sure that this person does have some wealth. If you're, it's a nice building that they built.
I just have a hard time saying that she killed a man in Texas when she didn't.
God,
I'll just play the video here, and you can just see.
I'll be the decider of this.
Is it that? That's not.
Oh no, that's the reporter. She's also a blonde white woman.
Here. Okay, so here's a picture of.
Well, I say that.
Okay, but again, it's just a blonde white woman, and if you're just looking at it in passing,
sure,
you can be like, oh yeah, no, that's the same woman, but it's. It's not.
Come on, guys.
So,
Come on.
but that's why I say it's a weird form of racism because it's. Yeah. I don't know the race of the people commenting on it. I'm not going to speculate, but it's one of those things where you're like, it's just that's a white blonde woman who shares the same name.
It's a weird thing to search for. I mean, honestly, like, I want to know whatever happened to that, lady who I don't like. I'm gonna put her name into YouTube.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that's the
and
other
then
thing
and then I'm like, well, what's this?
Because outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, who's aware of this incident going on?
Right.
And
do
no
we have
doubt,
to work on our SEO? I mean, I guess.
But it's a weird thing to search for, and it's a weird thing. But there's a lot of people that really want to, I don't know, see her burn, which is unfortunate because she's not the same person.
I'm telling you, man. Mob rule, dude. Mob rule.
Which is the internet. I mean, mob
That's
rule
the
is the internet.
Like, I mean, so for me,
and it's bled over into reality. It's bled over into
it. Like, it's always been something I've been deathly afraid of.
Mob rule.
It's like not call out culture, but before it was call out culture.
But that's mob rule. I
mean,
it
was just like, I am deathly afraid that I will say something. And my problem is I make a joke out of absolutely everything. Mm-hmm. So for me I'm going to say something absolutely offensive, something that is totally inappropriate.
Right.
But I probably shouldn't, I guess. But I had a lovely discussion with this, with a person, like during like an open forum conversation at a local brewery. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, my thing is, if you're trying to make a joke, if you're making a joke, I'm giving you a lot longer leash.
Yeah. Well, telling a joke versus being sincere about your feelings.
Yeah.
There's a tone, and if you can't understand that, then there's something wrong with you. But and there's also jokes that are like, they're said in a way you're like, I
don't think you actually. I think you actually might believe a little bit.
You're making a bad joke. Is what if you're making, that's the best thing I can give you.
Right.
Is that you're making a bad joke.
Right. Yeah. So for me, like, I've always been like deathly afraid of the whole the gal who went to Africa. Do you remember that story?
No. Is this a bad joke?
Yeah, she like got on Twitter before she like flew to Africa to go on safari for vacation or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she tweeted something about like, hope I don't get AIDS or something. I
vaguely remember, yeah.
And got on the plane, put herself in airplane mode. And then in the 12 hours it took for her to fly from America to Africa, her life was, like everybody's like, I can't wait for her to land. When she lands and she's going to turn on her phone and see that her life's ruined. I cannot wait for that. Her plane is yet to land. Yeah,
and that is a total byproduct of the internet, and the anonymity of the internet gives people to make comments like we're talking about. Like, even when you have rational, like, someone making a point of like, this is not the person you think it is. No, it isn't. It is totally that person. You're wrong. Like, it takes a few clicks of the internet.
That's too hard.
Too hard to admit.
It's too hard. Well, it's too hard to.
But
it's so much easier to just have a knee-jerk reaction and post something for what? That's always my question. Mm-hmm. For what? I'm going to click this out. I'm going to post this outrage comment and share it.
Well, and
for what?
Well, and take it to the next level. Like, even if it's just outside of outrage, I've never understood the point of letting anybody know what I'm up to at any point in time of the day. Like, that's never been. Even if I'm running into somebody in person, I'm not going to be like, oh, by the way, I had a cheeseburger today for lunch. It was great.
Sure.
I'm not going to just put that information out there.
So what do you feel about like Leonard's food reviews then?
Well, because it's a commentary on the food blogs and vlogs. I enjoy it, but the random posting of things on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those things. I mean, I have a hard enough time posting for the show on Twitter.
It's weird. It's a weird thing that like I have to tell people what I'm doing. And don't get me wrong, I'd like for this podcast to be successful. I think that we are. I'm going to be, a little bit toot my own horn. I think we're entertaining. I think we're enjoyable people. But I'm not going to tell people that. I'm not going to say, hey, by the way, you want to listen to an hour and a half of me and Bobby just bullshitting?
Yeah.
You can.
And you can. But again,
it's a weird thing to bring up.
In the context of having a show or content to put out there,
right.
I get that it's a way to get your stuff out there or in front of people's eyes.
Sure.
If it's just me, I have a real hard time being like, oh, hold on, I need to stop what I'm doing today and put this out into the world because people need to know that I just listened to XYZ song or did anything in this world. Going to Lowe's to buy lumber, hashtag, home life.
Lumber life?
Like lumber life, yeah, exactly.
Hashtag lumber life.
And it must just be tied to the endorphin rush of getting likes that people have grasped, that they've latched onto it so quickly.
Right.
Because it's a weird phenomenon that happened with the internet.
I do enjoy it. I do enjoy seeing all of the comments and I like seeing comments and likes when I post stuff, but I'm not chasing it. I guess. When I do, it's my thing is I feel like because of my children, I've been kind of guilted into it where it's you should really share more pictures of I like seeing, we're not going to hang out all the time. So, I'd like seeing pictures of your kids. I like seeing your kids going out and I enjoy seeing you guys going out and doing stuff. Okay. All right. I'll do it for you, I guess, but I don't get a lot of that.
But that's where I always go to well, why don't I just send you a text message of what we're doing? Why don't I send you a private? Because
that'd be weird.
No, if I'm if I'm on vacation and I see something that reminds me of a buddy of mine and or something, another relationship in my life,
right?
I'll be like, oh, I'll take a moment to be like, hey, to that specific person, be like, hey, boom. Some people need to have that on the social media platform where they may be thinking of that person personally, but they have to put it out in the public platform and then get everybody else to watch vicariously the relationship playing out, the back and forth of the comments, all that stuff where I'm like, this is between me and the person I'm talking to. It's not for anybody else,
I don't know. It's weird. For the most part, I don't post things like that. I guess I did a little bit. I don't know.
But I think it's a personality trait that's almost evolved in the last 15 years. Because social media is still very young in the world, but it's tapping into really primal pleasure zones of that humans have experienced. Not feeling alone is a huge human trait,
Right.
And to have anonymity, but also feel that you're connected to something and connected to a group of people. That's a deadly combo. Yeah.
For me, I have come to realize that I enjoy the memory aspect of it. I every so often I will go and look at all the pictures on my phone just cause.
Oh yeah.
But also every day on Facebook, I'm looking at memories of, other things as well. And not just pictures that I've edited and put on.
No, but again, that's another human, existence.
I enjoy that
characteristic that people enjoy of going down memory lane. What do they also say? They say, it's walking down memory lane is the lowest form of conversation or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a line in Sopranos, and when Tony Soprano said it, I was like, oh, yeah, he's kind of right, actually. Because do you have friends in your life that when you get together, all they want to do is talk about the old days?
I think that's everybody. Because
I don't think it. I'm going
to say most people, when they get together, if I got together with a high school friend right now, eventually it's going to turn into that. And for me, I always try to go in hard and let's talk about whatever nonsense. Let me throw some non sequiturs in here and get ourselves past that. Cause I do. I want to know about you. I want to know what you're doing. I want to understand what's going on in your life right now. I enjoy, maybe that's cause I'm a narcissist and I enjoy talking about things that I've done in the past, but, I also want to learn more about you and your thoughts and feelings.
But as you've grown,
and where you are now,
yeah, I have buddies that every time we get together, it doesn't matter. We can get together a lot, and it's still when we get together, it's do you remember like when remember back in the month? It's like, yep, I just like the last conversation we had. I totally remember all that. Yep. I'm looking to the future. What are you doing now? What are you doing? Like, what do you guys got planned and everything like that? It's like, oh, you remember when we did all this and everything? And it's like, yeah, yep, still remember it. Yep, absolutely. And that's where I think there's the point of it's said differently. It's in the Sopranos.
A certain amount of diminishing returns with nostalgia.
Yeah, and it's not that it's not enjoyable. I mean, there's an like looking at photos is what triggered this. Like, I think everyone likes to look at photos, watch old home videos that have meaning and everything like that. Like, but when it's in conversation form, it only has so much like life basically to it.
Right.
Before I'm done, I'm like, cool, let's move on, or I'll see you later. But
I get that because it is. I don't know how often you're having those conversations, but I mean, there's some dudes from high school that I was good friends with in high school, and if we spent 2 hours like reminiscing, sure, I mean, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, every 6 months, a year or so.
Absolutely not. I mean, there's literally dudes that I've not talked to in almost 20 years now. And
that's what I'm saying, the frequency of doing it. Like, I don't mind if I haven't seen, I guess, if you haven't seen the person in a while, it's inevitably going to go into the good old days. It's fine. It's when it's consistent and you can't move forward. It feels like you're stuck in like a video game level.
That's a weird stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's like getting hung up on. I say that, but then again, there's so many times where you're like, hey, do you remember doing that? Hey, do you remember doing that thing? And I'm like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about whatsoever. And I'm like, hey, you said that one funny thing and we did that. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
No, maybe. I mean, that sounds like me.
Yeah.
But.
Well, and again, it goes into that kind of colloquial, whatever that fucking word is. Colloquial. I can't. Yeah.
I gotta get that.
Anyway, that group of people that just has to say something. They talk about the same shit all the time. I always say that it's like talking about the weather. It's like when you have nothing else to talk about, and you're like, oh, yeah, it's a real hot one out there. It's like, yeah, no shit. Yep. Yeah, it's a hot. Yep. It's going to be hot the rest of the week, too. Cool. Are we all basing it off the same information? Why the fuck are we wasting air in these words talking about this shit? I don't... Like, we walked up to a bar. We had a hot stretch here in town, and
it was a hot one.
So we walked up to a bar, and we were sitting outside, minding our own business, and these two dudes, like, come out and start smoking and everything like that, and they're like, yeah, you're sweating through your shirt. And I'm like, are they fucking talking to me? Like, I'm not facing them. I'm not making any eye contact with them. They're like, yeah, you're sweating through your shirt. I'm like, yeah, it's hot out. Yeah, it's hot out. Like, and then it became like this whole thing. Like, we had our dog with us who had water and was fine. Like, and he's like, oh, you bring your dog out and this stuff. And it's like, we live really close by. We're fine. Oh, where do you live? It's like, that's not the question. Like, nothing is giving you this this path to ask these questions. Like,
that's a weird thing. And once again, I'm not going to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy.
I don't want to be that guy. Like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to talk to you. But also, I'm giving off pretty good vibes of like, I'm not acknowledging. I'm not turning around and like wanting to talk to you. But people that need to have that conversation, that need to talk about. Yeah, it's a hot one. Oh, geez, yeah.
That's why I always like to lead with, hey, what's your favorite form of potato?
No, I think we developed a good one. What is your greatest love?
Tell me about your greatest love.
Tell me about your greatest love, and then just...
Real Jiminy Glick style.
Yeah.
Tell me about your greatest love.
But even then, you're engaging with somebody that just wants to engage. And that's
I want to know.
That goes back to the internet and commenting, like... They need that human connection. They need that connection with something because the void in their own lives for it.
And they're just searching. For me, outrage, and like, I say that. And I remember like constantly just reading the local paper. I'm like, I can't believe that bullshit. I'm not going to do anything about it. I might have a conversation with, hey, I don't like this. I don't like this, and I can't exactly pinpoint why. I might have a conversation with you about it. Josh Bushy, he hated that. like when we worked together, I would listen to like morning radio for Cedar Rapids on my way down to Cedar Rapids, and I'm like, well, that's dumb. I think that's dumb. Hearing whatever local bullshit politics in Cedar Rapids or in the Iowa State House or whatever, and and get about like 9:00, 8:45, and I'd just go into his office and he'd be like, okay, what the fuck is it now? What is it now? He said, I just want to read Reddit. And like, this is dumb. And I'm like, this is dumb because of X, Y, and Z. And then he's like, yeah, I guess, It's just like, well, hold on. I want to tell me, what do you think about? He's like, I'd have to look. Can I just go back to reading Reddit?
Well, again, like going into like most conversations you have with people in a day to day, you're not changing a whole lot outside of your own circle. Like most people aren't having the privilege.
Your sphere of influence.
Yeah, your sphere of influence is very minimal. So when you get to people that are drinking on like a Sunday afternoon and everything like that, their sphere of influence is even lower. Yeah. And so it's like you're just talking about like how hot it is outside. It's like, yeah, fucking yeah.
It's hot.
The sun's up there as well. The sky is blue. How about them Cubs?
It's a weird thing that, I want to engage you in a conversation. I don't know what about.
Do you have the, I don't know. It's like the dog chomping at the bit. Like if you have a treat for a dog and you tell a dog to stay.
Yeah.
And you can just see in the dog's eyes that like, I want to stay because I want the treat, but I gotta say something. I gotta get it out there. I gotta do something. I gotta move a little bit.
Sure.
Do you have that where when you're with a person?
It depends.
And you're just like, I can't stand
okay. I have to say something. I gotta talk about this right now.
To complete strangers.
Not to complete strangers.
That's the weird fucking aspect of it. Then.
Not to complete strangers. I mean, I say that, but sometimes it's like, hey, I see you're wearing a shirt from X, Y, or Z. Mm-hmm. Hey, what's going on? I want to talk to you. You're wearing this shirt. You're choosing the shirt for a reason. Why? You like this because you like this band, or you like? Mm-hmm. Are you from there? Where'd you get that shirt? It's a cool shirt, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's not like. And for the most part, I sit on my hands. I don't. I don't have to interject myself too often.
It was just we had two experiences in a row because this is our local neighborhood bar that we can go to and sit outside and everything like that, and it's fine. And the day before, we experienced this woman driving up to the parking lot, and she like Tokyo drifts into the fucking parking lot, and it's ridiculous. And we're like, oh, that's fucking weird. And she's got just music blaring out.
And is that one drunk lady?
No, it's not.
Has she ever shown back up?
Hold on one second. Let me tell a story that's more relatable to everyone listening. So this woman gets out of the car and she walks inside, and I'm like, thank God, and just don't make eye contact. And but inevitably she comes outside, and she's in the patio area, and she's talking really loud on her cell phone. She's smoking cigarettes and everything, and she's just basically like, why would she talk to me? Why? And she's on the phone, mind you. She has the phone by her head. Yeah. And then there's our table and then another table out there. And she's like, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you talking to me? And finally she like comes up to us. She's like, why aren't you talking to me? And I'm like, what the hell indication have you given to us that you're talking to us? And she's like, why can't people just be people? They're so worried about like their own lives. They can't even just connect with anybody else. And it's like, lady, you were talking on your phone, and then all of a sudden you decided you were talking to us, and we're like, hey, we're just hanging out and having a conversation.
Yeah.
And then it turned to it got a little contentious a little bit.
Oh.
And then we were like, my wife went inside to go to the bathroom, and then when she walked by, my wife walked by her, she was like, did she think I was talking to her? Like, I wasn't talking to you guys at all. It's like, you just said you were. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into it. All right. Yep. Mm-hmm, cool. Bye. Awesome. But again, a lot of other things. Thankfully, she got a cab and like left her car there. That was really nice.
That's a real win.
That's good. But this unbelievable drive for people to have just this conversations with anybody. They can't stop themselves from having a conversation just about anything. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is.
See, I don't. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and stop you. And ready. I think I enjoy the let's settle a bet. I enjoyed I enjoy getting pulled into those conversations.
There's
where I'm an arbiter of truth, where I can say this guy he said this, and I'm like, hold on, blah blah blah. Tell me the whole thing, and then be like, no, you're acting like a crazy person.
I don't mind.
You're 100% right. That guy's a douchebag. Or I enjoy that.
It's not 100% like I hate social interaction when I'm out in public. I like social interaction when I'm out in public, and it's
when
not
you're in line
annoying.
at Subway.
No. That's an ignoring everybody. That's a transactional based thing.
Okay, here's the deal. When I'm in the bathroom, I want people to think like I don't exist, by the way. That's like the last thing I want to do is have a conversation in the bathroom. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of the worst fucking human experiences for dudes, at least.
I don't get it. Like, why do we need to have a conversation right now?
We've talked about this on the podcast before.
Have we?
Yeah. Because it's a horrible thing that's somehow, like some guys do. Like they walk up and you're just like, I'm going to start talking to you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is ignore everything other than the bodily function.
What are you doing? I don't want it. Like, why would I? Like, what? Me staring straight ahead, holding my genitals.
Never making eye contact.
What point did you think that this is my in?
Yeah.
This is my in for the conversation.
I'm going to make a new best friend right now.
I like making new best friends.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
Generally, don't try it in the bathroom.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
a certain segment of the population that just desperately needs to talk to people.
But I don't even think it's a certain segment, because I think with the internet and how it's grown with social media and everything like that, there are the people that are at the bars that have no idea how to do any of this stuff that online, that left up to their own devices would totally be that same person, but it's almost like they've multiplied. It's like the drunk at the bar is almost equivalent to the YouTube commenter, where you're like, I can't do anything without you just saying something to say something, because that's what your role in this world is.
Sure.
But that also goes into like the trolling nature of the internet and reality, where people are trolls. Like they just want to fuck with you. I'm going to go out to a bar.
I'm going to egg you on just a little bit.
Yep. I'm going to go out to a bar to get into a fight. That's what I'm going out to do. I'm going to be online to fuck with you.
That's a weird thing. Like the fist fighting thing, I don't get. Like, yeah, I just want to go. Like, I love that Florida Man documentary.
But do you see what I'm saying, though? Like, it almost doubles the rate of annoying people in the world. And with the internet, it gives all these people that would never be that person.
However, I don't, like, of all the people on here, I don't think they're trolls. I mean, like, in this case, I don't know if there's a lot of, there's not Mr. Who's the guy? Not Ken Bone. Who's Ken M? Who's the guy who's like great at just making just absolute nonsense comments?
Nonsense. I don't know.
We just got a message from Josh about him.
I don't know.
It was great. Anyhow.
Yeah.
The people who are commenting
He's a professional troll.
Who are just like totally ill-informed, but I'm going to let you know my feelings on this specific matter, even though it's about a video of the wrong person. I am going to make sure that I let you know this is wrong. Mm-hmm. Like having that amount of like confidence in yourself. I mean, or delusion. The delusion that I am so right in this woman is so wrong in this scenario that I'm going to comment on this without double checking anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm leaping in both feet because this bitch needs to be told what's what.
Well, and then there's also the other.
And then there's somebody who's just being an asshole to be an asshole.
That's the thing. And I know you don't watch a lot of South Park, but there's a great thing that they did a couple seasons ago now, where Kyle's dad was a troll called Skank Hunt 42 or something like that.
Great.
Where he was trolling all the moms of South Park and everything like that, like just putting dicks in their mouths and everything like that. And he explained trolling in a way that was like, No, that's actually what it is. You're not trolling somebody to get the reaction out of the person you're trolling. You're trolling somebody to get the reaction out of the B and C group of people that are defending that person on behalf of them. They're getting mad on behalf of the person that you're insulting. Right. And that's causing the chain reaction that causes the quantum fusion reaction. Right. And that's exactly it. So when we get into the political sphere of
sure,
when people get mad at Trump for doing something, it's he's a fucking troll.
He's 100% a troll.
So don't give anything to him.
Right.
And that's when what was it? The 12 years.
12 more years.
12 more years.
Did we talk about that last time? Or
we didn't talk about it on the podcast,
yeah, it's oh no, my wife's oh my God, Trump's had people chant. There's people chanting 12 more years. I'm like, that's got to be him just being a dick.
Yeah, that's
got to be it.
Right.
And sure enough, I listened to the clip and it was just you want to make him real mad, have him start chanting 12 more years.
Exactly.
And it's just yep.
And
sure enough, that's clickbait just waiting out there in the wings.
Because they're going to cut it the way that they wanted to. It's going to enrage a group of people.
Right.
And then they're never going to hear the whole story because it kind of goes back to the narratives that are being created. And as far as in fictional television shows that we were talking about as well, it's when you allow a troll to have power and then you let them, they're going to be a troll. A troll's always going to be a troll. They're just going to constantly try to poke and prod because at some level it is funny. So at some level I get it.
I know there's plenty of people I know who are an asshole just because it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun just to be an asshole. I'm gonna be an asshole to you just because I know you don't like it.
There's also the people that can be assholes. There's a little bit of envy to the person that can be an asshole. That
lovable asshole.
Yeah.
The asshole with a heart of gold.
Yeah. But that also wears thin. That very rarely lasts in lifetime of friendship or of relationships.
I don't. For me, I can think of a couple of people who, he's an asshole and he'll act like a prick, but then he'll give literally the shirt off his back and his acts of kindness and willing to go the extra mile for you, is so awesome. And it's you can be a prick, but I know you're being a prick just to be a prick. You're not doing it because out of malice or to be mean. And I'm not being a prick to get something out of you. I'm not gonna be a prick to you. I'm not gonna say mean things to you in hopes of it pissing you off. And there's enough people who are I'm gonna say something to piss you off just because I want to prove I can push your buttons.
Right.
And that I don't like.
Yeah.
When I say to some people, hey, you're a piece of shit, clearly no one's ever going to love you, that's all done in jest.
Unless you're really serious about it.
Then I'll look them dead in the eyes. You are a piece of shit. No one will ever love you. And I'll mean it.
And you don't get to talk to me that way.
You don't get to talk to me that way.
Yeah, but to have, I don't know, if it's a presentation you have to give everybody in your life to be I'm just going to be an asshole from now on. I wish I could do it in more aspects of my life where I could be I want to sit down with the group of people that I have to interact with the most. Not the people I like the most, but just the people I have to interact with the most and be I'm going to lay out the groundwork here, the game plan of me interacting with you for the foreseeable future. I'm going to be a dick to you, okay? Because apparently it doesn't matter how I treat you. I still have to interact with you. So I'd rather just be honest with myself or be honest with you about how I feel about things. But I always resign myself to just being well,
I wish you would.
I'll just bite my fucking tongue and just.
Is there a coworker that you're thinking of with this?
Oh no. These are just multiple people in my life. These are just people I'm we have to go here tonight. Okay. All right. No.
Yep.
That's fine. Yep. I guess I'll just have a mouthful of blood from biting my tongue and not being able to say. Problem. It's not fun. And I think a lot of people do it. And I don't know, you play games about trying to interact with them, but I would
Are you talking about my wife?
No. No, because to your wife's credit, I could be a dick to your wife actually, you know, and but that's an honesty. There's less of a wall there than with other people in my life where I'm like, I have to be this person right now for the next 3-4 hours. And then I have to, then I can go back to being myself.
And they go, rubble.
Yeah. So I kind of envy the people that can be assholes and stuff. And
sure.
Just be honest. I guess because that's how an asshole gets away with being an asshole, is that they say, oh, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest, man. I'm being true to myself.
My problem is when I tell people the truth, and it's just like, oh, well, that was really hurtful. It's like,
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, Jesus, really?
That's what I'm saying. Like when you're like, when I call it out, like, did you like what I just showed you? No, absolutely not.
You can stop. Please.
I'll give you an example of every fucking song my dad has ever shown me from the time I was a child to be like, oh, here,
A lot of Third Eye Blind.
No, not even that good.
Marcy Playground.
Not even, no. But he knows, and I've been honest with him as far as like, I think this music sucks. He's a big fan of contemporary country, and I'm like,
interesting.
And I'm like, those
are real people.
This stuff sucks. I pretty much just said, like, I don't like this music. It does not stop him from showing me at least 3 songs. We went over.
I think you'll like this one, Bobby.
Yeah, so we went over early in the quarantine.
Then you showed him Little Big?
No, I have not. But we went over early in the quarantine, and for my birthday, no less.
Yeah.
And we had a separated, socially distanced birthday, which was whatever. But country music had put out 2 different 6 feet apart songs. And he's like, oh, you need to hear this song. I was like, I need to hear this song? It's my fucking birthday. I don't like this stuff, but you're going to make me. Here we go. Press play. And we're going to have to sit and listen to 3 minutes
arms crossed
of these garbage ass songs. And I'd be like, it's not bad. I wish I could just be like, that fucking sucked. Wow.
It's not good.
No, it's not. But again, that's an example of just, I wish I had the ability to be an asshole.
Listen, Dad, let me tell you, it's garbage.
And then it's like, it goes right over his head, doesn't fucking hear it. And then let me show you another one. Because again, I feel like I can put off the vibes of being an asshole, being like, yeah, I'm not into this. Please don't show me another one. Please don't show me another one. 4 songs later, he's still showing me shit. And I'm like, have I not put off the vibes enough of like, I don't want this? Like going back to like the guy at the bar.
Right.
Like, I don't want to talk to you right now.
What kind of like, are you getting any positive reinforcement out of this? I mean, and maybe I just got to get this off my chest. I got to show Bobby this song. He needs to listen to this song. Otherwise, I don't know. He's got to listen to it. It's life-changing.
I don't know how much it's like, I need to listen to the song versus like, he needs to do whatever he can to try to connect with me in the way that he likes music.
And that's why I would show him Little Big and see what happens.
But that's the thing. That's the weird thing about
like, you want to talk about
my family.
You want to talk about chomping at the bit.
Well,
I was chomping at the bit for a while there on Little Big
to show people Little Big. Well, we showed multiple people Little Big.
It's just like oh my god,
we got to do it, and then
evangelize.
I think it was like a 10% success rate. Honestly, but I still love it. I fucking think it's brilliant.
I've come to really enjoy the Hatters. Like, I can put on, I can tell Alexa, play the Hatters, and can't understand a single fucking word for the most part. They do have a couple English songs, but it's something about that wonderful mix of horn line and accordion that I just love. Like, it's a great sound.
And on the line of Little Big, so I was telling you before the podcast started that we went over to my buddy was he's getting ready for a cooking competition, so he wanted us to try his food, his submissions, and then give him notes and everything like that.
Is this a thing?
Yeah, it was a thing. It was pretty fun. So we went over and he cooked food and everything, and he brought us out and he told us the criteria for how to cook and everything. But I didn't know it was like a dinner party kind of thing. But
I wish I could have more dinner parties, by the way.
Well, I mean, the world's your oyster. You can have dinner parties.
No, I can't. I don't have a good kitchen.
But one of the people there, it came up organically that they were into Eurovision, and I was like, "Oh, you're familiar with Little Big?" And it's like, "Oh my god, I love Little Big.
It's good."
And it was like finding a ship in the night. It was just like, oh my gosh. And he said too, he's like, the thing about their songs is that, they're not meant to be taken seriously and everything. I'm like, exactly. Exactly. You know why this is good. And like their videos, this is the whole point, which I think when you show somebody, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to process the information that they're being given.
Hold on. What is it? What is this?
Like when I show Little Big Skibbity to somebody, I think I say at least 3 times, 500 million views, 500 million views. All right.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
I've come to appreciate the romantic version much more. God, it's good.
It's really good.
They're really good. Same thing with the Hatter. I mean, really, like seriously, just like put on some Hatters and just be like, it's horn lines and accordion, like is
but there's
solid.
There's still the thought, like again, that's where I don't want to get too far into music and everything like that.
Sure.
Our last episode was a lot of music and everything, but the intent of pop music or the intent of just creativity in pop music, that's the whole thing. I mean, I remember, like a band like Bloodhound Gang was a good example of just like, I think we
didn't talk about that as far as comedic bands, but definitely the Bloodhound Gang.
And that was a great album. And then also when you tie it in visually with the music videos and everything like that, it creates this world. Even something like Beastie Boys always did a great job of being
they wrote
funny
a line,
and then but being legitimate and winning Grammys and shit like that. Where it's interesting.
Every so often, I mean, they'd have a pretty comedic song, like every so often. Girls. I mean, like Girls is definitely
even like the music video for Sabotage is all a joke. I mean,
I think it's easier to make a joke in a music video,
but to tie it into the song though, like and then to carry on that persona, like like if I want to make a funny music video, you almost have to carry that beyond the music video.
Sure.
And it definitely, in order for it to be funny and then work, it has to be organically you. Like I always like Blink-182. I think those are just fun guys,
fun dudes.
So yeah, it's going to be easier for you to make a fun music video and then like carry that out into the stage versus like No Doubt making a fun music. I don't know. Or there's probably a better music. Probably a better example.
Make a fun music video. I don't know.
I think they made.
Is there like a
wacky, maybe silly,
I think maybe
silly.
I don't. Slightly avant-garde. I mean, not like this is a joke.
Yeah,
this is
not like
joke.
What's My Age Again, where they're running naked on the beach.
Just male nudity. Is
exactly
meant to be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. But now that I'm thinking of it, the drummer of No Doubt was mostly naked.
It was mostly naked. I think No Doubt for the most part would be fun. They're fun. It's
fun, not funny.
Fun, not funny. They're here. They're like having a good time,
right? Versus being funny,
which
is a distinction.
Speak.
I mean,
yeah, sure, yes,
yeah.
Which one would you declare yourself as more? Are you more fun or funny?
I don't know. That's
the
whole thing with being bipolar. I don't know.
Is that what you refer to yourself as? Okay.
Not diagnosed. No,
you're not.
No.
But do you self-diagnose as bipolar?
No, I don't even self-diagnose as bipolar. I don't think it's that extreme.
Oh,
I don't think. Like, I can get into. I don't know. Like my version of wanting to hang out with people. It's when someone says, "Do you want to hang out with, or go and do this thing?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really want to.
You don't like doing stuff.
But if when I get there and I'm doing it, I'm like, okay, I'm fine. Like I'll get through this.
I enjoy being with people. Like, and I don't know what it is. I enjoy like going out and hey, when my wife says, "Hey, what do you want to do tonight?" I'm like, I don't know. What's so and so doing? And not to I feel like a dick because my wife's like, well, why don't you and I just go do something? And it's like, well, I mean, we can.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about stuff and we'll have a good time, but I don't know. I always feel like I want to have fun with other people, not my wife. I have fun with my wife. Don't get me wrong. That was great. Like when we went on vacation with just the two of us, it's always a weird. There's like a certain level we got to get over a hump We got to get over that initial hump of just being with each other for more than 12 hours, just the two of us.
Gotcha.
Once we get past that, then it's fine.
See, I feel like my wife and I, because we spent so many years on the road,
Yeah.
we were exposed to this, being with each other in ways where you're like, I just need to have 20 minutes to myself outside of the car, like on the side of because you just buy each other a ton.
Sure.
It's not that we don't enjoy spending time. We love spending time together. And again, like in that situation of a Friday night, like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'll just want to hang out with you, But we were so overexposed to each other that it became like the little bits of time we get to hang together, like it's like, well, fuck, this isn't 23 hours of the day. This is great. This is awesome. Like,
that's interesting.
It's a weird thing that happened just from, traveling as much as we did and, being as close to each other as we were for, the 8 to 10 months out of the year that we would be on the road.
Right.
And because when you're on the road, you don't really there's no personal space. We had a 2-door Toyota Yaris. Like, there's not
had a Yaris?
Yeah, we had a Yaris. Yep.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's interesting. So, because we had a Yaris as well.
Oh, did you?
Hold on. We had an Echo.
Echo.
That was the version before the Yaris.
Gotcha.
But speaking of which, so when we had an Echo and we went out to Prince Edward Island in Canada, and I remember, so we drove from Dubuque to Niagara, and it was like our first full day. So we drove out there, spent the night, and then we were just hanging around Niagara, and I was like, my wife is not into this at all, and we've got another week. And like, we've been married for like 2 years or 3 years, I can't remember, but have not been alone for that long of a time. It was just like, this could be bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know what's going to happen. And I distinctly remember I've got a picture, and she does not look happy to being there at all. And it's just like, this could be a problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you now like take that week and make it 8 months, 10 months and everything.
But once we
not even like just like the moment of being unhappy. It's just the wear and tear of like, why am I doing this?
But honestly, it was like 36 hours later. It was fine. Like, and we'd gotten over that hump.
And that happens. I can remember multiple times where we'd be driving, especially in the West Coast where you drive a lot to get to the place.
Yeah.
And what we would do is we'd be doing couch surfing. And so we'd have to go, and there's always a meet and greet of people when you get there. But we'd drive, let's say we got into an argument, we'd be fighting and stuff, like really just pissed off at each other, like, don't fucking talk to me, blah, 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 like anything, getting into it. As soon as we meet the new people, we take 20 minutes to like meet and greet and get shown where our place where we're staying is, and then just have a 5 minutes just to cool off and come back and be like, I'm so sorry, like I'm just being a dick, or like, oh my gosh, everything's fine. It's like a rubber band. Like, the longer you're on the road together in that close quarters, it's just the rubber band being pulled back farther and farther and farther and farther and farther and farther, and hopefully it doesn't break. But by the time you get to a place where you can release the rubber band slowly, and then it doesn't hurt anybody, you can just kind of calm down and be like, oh yeah, that was stupid what we were arguing about. You know what I'm saying? Like, just close proximity makes you argue.
I think I don't know about that. I mean, really,
when you're on top, like, again, a 2-door Toyota Yaris for 10 hours of driving.
Ours a 2-door Echo.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we only did that for like 9 days.
Yeah, I would say. So add months to that.
Not months, but it's just weird. It's a weird thing where we just don't get to be alone with each other. But I do, like, it's like, I don't know, what are those people doing tonight? Let's go hang out with those people. And that's just, I don't know, I enjoy, I guess maybe I can just shop around my new bits.
Maybe that's it.
I think that's,
I'm much more, I like hanging out by myself, or like hanging out, alone, basically.
Sure.
I don't necessarily like staying home all the time. That's That's the thing. I like to go out and do things.
Like alone though?
No, not alone. Like I mean, with my wife. Yeah, that's where.
Yeah.
If I'd like to be alone with her. So.
I don't know. I mean, I do. Like, here's the deal. And this is something like it's taken a little bit to like make it over that hump where it's like I absolutely love television and films. Like I love storytelling. I love, visual aspects. I love the imagery and the symbolism and all that great stuff. I love it. My wife she does not want to watch movies. She does not want to watch TV.
So that's an outlet where you need to have that filled in some way, shape, or form. You need to have that, that wall.
And it's like, well, and that's why I'm just gonna. I remember like morphing from, watching on a laptop in my bed to going downstairs and watching Netflix on the Wii. I remember when Netflix first started on the Wii. It was just like, this is the future of television. I remember being like, I can pull up YouTube on my television and it just being like a light switch. I'm like, this is the future, guys. We're going to be able to like watch YouTube on your television.
So did you invest in Netflix then?
No, because I didn't have any money.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
I'm a little bit invested in Netflix now just because I do broad based. I invested in the Nasdaq, not Nasdaq, I don't know, not Dow Jones. Dow Jones is only 300. What's
You mean the S&P 500?
S&P 5, Standard & Poor's 500. I've got some broad base.
Gotcha.
Do you do?
I day trade.
You day trade?
I do. I day trade.
I can't imagine day trading. But then again, I can't imagine betting on baseball. But
here's the thing: this is how I approach day trading and betting at the same time. I go in with my toe dipping into the water. That's it. I'm not jumping in up like right away.
You're not buying 1,000 shares of oil and gas.
Correct. I'm buying a share of Halliburton or Anheuser-Busch or something like that. Where like I'm gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna learn as I go, and I'm gonna keep doing this. And then once I get my feet wet, everything with that, then I can really like go to town.
You're betting right now. You've moved to $5 to $20 bets. Is that where you're at?
Not with baseball. That was the one shitty thing when the world shut down.
You were rolling.
I was fucking rolling, man.
You were hot.
I was really hot. I had college basketball down. I was making like $20 bets on college basketball games and winning 60-70% of the time. So, which is what you need to do to be a successful bettor.
Sure.
So when the Big Ten championship, when all the conference championships were going to start, I put so much fucking work in, man. I probably like a month and a half of like running numbers, running scenarios and everything like that to like have this betting system ready to go. And I was going to use the Big Ten conference championship as my template. I was like, if this works, then I feel really confident about my March Madness.
You think you had the system down?
I think I had a good betting system. A good betting system means that you can take an underdog that has a significant chance, like that has a good chance of winning. If I can find that and it hits, great. But I also can take like the middle teams and everything with that, like, and make strategic bets on those. So maybe it's not a huge like I don't need to work for the rest of my life, but I can also be like, no, that was a good victory. That was a good win.
Yeah.
And but I was making bets as the tournament was being canceled. I was like clicking on it and I was like, why is this not going through? Why is this not going through? Refresh the page. Game's gone. The fuck's going on? You can look up online. This game's been canceled. This game's been canceled. Blah, blah, blah.
That's a weird thing.
But the funny thing is that there was so much time in between when I last bet and then when I started betting again that I forgot how much money I won. like we were told about the Super Bowl. Like, so you and I, we were watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah, when we were watching the Chiefs win.
Yeah. So I was fairly confident that the Chiefs are going to win that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But again, before the Super Bowl, it didn't make any fucking sense to bet on the Chiefs to win because the odds weren't there.
Right.
And so now you can do in-game betting and everything with that. And so I just said, all right, every time the Chiefs go down, I'm just going to put $20 on them. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
And the more and more beer I had, the more and more that $20 turned into, I'm going to put $200 down on the Chiefs to fucking win this game. And they did. And I forgot how much I won.
How much did you win?
I won like $600 on the.
The IRS is listening, by the way. I should have prefaced that.
It's a China-based. It's offshore.
This is all offshore.
It's all offshore. It's all offshore.
It's all up and up.
It's all offshore. But I'll cut that out. I won a good amount of money. But it was so nice when I went back in like August to start betting. I was like, I totally forgot I had all this money here.
You had money just in an account, just sitting there waiting.
Mm-hmm. Get paid out in Bitcoin if I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
That's the
What's
answer.
your thought on cryptocurrency?
I think it's a great technology. I don't think it is going to replace our federal currencies. I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm with you. I think because my wife and she had listened to some podcasts about it, and I'd listened to podcasts about it as well.
The idea of me is saying, "Hey, hon, can you just listen to this podcast about cryptocurrency for a little bit?"
Well,
she would say, "No."
Well, but the crux of our, disagreement on it was like, I believe in it. I believe in the idea of it. I love that I love the idea of a blockchain technology, but I don't think the powers that be are going to let just something so pure and natural and uncorruptible overtake a system. I think something like Facebook would develop. What is they're developing a cryptocurrency?
I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Something with an N or something like that.
I don't remember. It's because it's been pretty much globally condemned.
But that's going to be the thing though, where if it does make the shift, if there is going to be a federal shift into a cryptocurrency system, it's going to be something that's state sponsored. I mean, it's not going to be the Robin Hood getting through. And
sure, but the problem is so many cryptocurrencies, as far as on the global scale, are people who are. For me, I think it's very difficult we got to separate these into three distinct things, and that is blockchain technology, Bitcoin replacing our day-to-day money.
Libra,
thank you. And then also the speculative market. The problem is the speculative market. Like, that's the real problem, is people basically day trading on currencies. That's nonsense. It's scary. For me, it's really scary, the idea that people are trying to move in, and the amount of people, the amount of money that is flooding these markets is, quite frankly, frightening. And you should not. It's so volatile. It's crazy.
That's my apprehension to jumping in full tilt to something like a Bitcoin or even any of them, because I don't think that's going to last past there's going to be a world of a lot of violence and suffering, before we get to a point where we have a stabilized cryptocurrency that we all agree on. Like, just because you're already looking at a disparity of wealth, and
sure,
if you're gonna tell everybody that their dollars that they have in their bank right now are worth zero, there's a lot of violence until that's settled.
It's a problem, and that's why. I mean, here's the deal. We already do have a fairly global currency. It's called the U.S. dollar.
Yeah,
it is,
and we all believe it's a dollar.
Right. It's incredibly stable, with not a lot of variation in prices, or at least not in the past 50 plus years, give or take.
Right.
And it's been a pretty consistent unit of monetary wealth
because of oil.
No.
Yeah, because of the petrodollar. Because most countries operate by buying and selling oil with. Okay. That's what keeps it stable. And then the unwavering belief that a dollar is a dollar by the American people. I mean, really,
it's a lot of faith.
But that's what you're breaking it down to. You're breaking it down to, like, what is a currency worth outside of the people believing it has value.
Right. And that's my and when people talk about new monetary theory, where it's just nope. I'd rather not go down that road.
Well, we're down that road.
We're getting closer and closer and closer.
No, we are down the road.
I'm going down that road of let's just make a bunch of money and just cut.
Well, that was the whole thing with the $1,200 check for everyone that makes under $70,000 a year.
Nope, that's all backed by loans. Right now, that's currently backed by loans.
No, it's currently backed by potential tax revenue of next year.
No,
my understanding, it is a form of new monetary theory.
There is a note that says of bonds being sold that has been sold to pay for that. Whether or not they're going to call those notes due, that's a great question. I don't think so. We'll see. I don't know.
But modern monetary theory is based around the idea that as long as people believe that the dollar has value, it doesn't matter how much you print.
Right.
And that's very scary.
And maybe with the Fed,
and they might be right.
With the Fed saying, we're just going to let inflation go. We're going to let inflation go for a while. And if things get hot, we're not going to let it get too hot, but we're going to let things get a little hot. Mm-hmm. I get it. I think we need, the problem is the Fed doesn't have enough tools in its toolbox. We've cut, I think after the financial crisis,
what year was that?
2000.
Fucking yes.
1929. Anyhow, after they slashed the rates down to the bone, and in that very, very slow, gradual return, with a very hesitant wanting to raise interest rates. And then when this happened, not wanting to, and slashing it right back down to the bone, down to zero. And that's crazy. And that's hard. And
negative in some cases.
Well, not at the U.S. The U.S. hasn't gone to a negative rate.
It was just oil, I believe. Oil went negative.
Oil future contracts for, what was that, May or June, went to negative $30 a barrel. May. And I was just maybe you should invest in a swimming pool and put a bunch of oil in there.
But it's one of those things I don't see a rosy outcome if it falls apart. I don't think there's a clear transfer of power from the dollar collapsing to the point where a large percentage of the population of America has nothing. 37
people trying to overtake, and I mean when I say people, I mean foreign governments or global corporations trying to corner the market and try to overtake and replace what the Fed was. And the stability.
But that transfer of power though is going to be,
it's going to be a messy. It's going to be a messy 37 people, and then a really slow.
I think there's years of violence and rampage that goes on.
Well, I say that. I say not in the United States, but then.
I think if, and this is the world where, the dollar collapses and they're like, oh, this is not going to work out. Now you have no money. But then a bunch of people have already jumped ship to the cryptocurrency or the next financial thing that's going to keep currency afloat.
No, I think everybody would jump ship to the euro, and then the euro would collapse. I mean, it's going to take a much worse global pandemic than what we've had.
No, I think the dollar collapsing is the thing that sparks a lot of people to do things that we've only seen in movies and TV shows.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy. I mean,
and in that way, I don't think there's coming out of that tunnel. I don't think there's a new dawn until there's a lot of time and bloodshed.
No, we're talking about that. That's a dividing line in history.
Because what you're dealing with then is people's ability to put food on the table, to the bare necessities to survive.
There's no global commerce.
If you told a person that has $3,000 in their bank account and that's everything, and they lost it all, that's it, and you're just kind of fucked. You just got to start over again.
I think there's a lot of people say, well, I'm really glad that my student loans aren't being called due and my bank note isn't being called due. I think it's going to be more of
there's a lot of time in between it falling apart and it being okay. More so than we've experienced in this.
You're talking about it like it's some kind of economic dark ages. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that means that people.
I don't think there's
no globalism, and that's there's no global economy, not globalism. There's no global economy, and don't get me wrong,
we're heading. They're trying.
I think it's weird. It's weird how just.
What are your thoughts on a global economy?
I think it's good for the most part.
Really?
I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think that there should be portions of the world that's our dump. That's where we put our garbage.
Mm-hmm.
When I say garbage, I mean bad labor practices or bad and that's what it is. Right now, we do use portions of Africa, portions of China. No, not portions. Most of China as our dumping grounds,
China uses portions of the world to do things as well. I mean,
we pour our. We don't want to have. We don't want to pay. We enjoy our fast fashion, as you're currently wearing your shirt, right?
Thank you.
Your shirt that your wife, not you, by the way, your wife. Paid probably $9 for your shirt, and
I bought this one. I bought this one.
I don't believe you.
I did.
You made this choice.
I made this choice.
Ugh.
It was $9. You're right.
But you paid $9 for this shirt, and for like cost of goods and manufacturing.
Your jealousy is
for it to be made in Bangladesh and get brought here or whatever. Did you buy it through? Did you buy it through Amazon or?
There's no tag.
That's a real sign.
That's a real sign.
Anyhow. We do bad labor practices in Central Africa, and bad as far as ecological things in China. That's bad. And
how does the world economy stop that though?
It's we need to stop buying shit from there. I mean, we can't tell China to not be a bad actor. Okay? China is a problem with the government. Africa and India, that's a problem with corporations. They're two different things, and they're going to take two different solutions. What are we going to do? I mean, honestly, I see China just like collapsing. Like that's what it's going to take for China to not be the world's worst polluters. We can sit here and we can cut our emissions down. We can sit here and
China and India are the two largest polluters.
They're a huge problem.
And then the American military is number 3 if it was a country.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the whole thing with global warming. It's less of global warming and more of a pollution problem. Like there's totally a pollution problem. Whatever study you want to look at to say whether the temperatures are rising or not, that's a peer-to-peer science issue.
Yes.
That you're dealing with a whole nother hornet's nest of competition and for people trying to get it published. But there is a pollution problem, and if we really cared about it, like we'd be doing things like punishing China and India and our own American military.
The idea that the idea that China is currently both a first world superpower and a third world country, at the same time, we got to be able to say, pick a lane. I mean, are you a developing nation? Yes or no? And okay, I mean,
that's where I think it really convolutes a global government. I think it's a thing where, or not a global, like a global economy, because you're dealing with different governments. You're dealing with different ways of governing people, different economic strategies for how you want to build your society. I mean, when you bring in socialism and communism and everything like that into the fold,
I mean,
it's hard to agree on what a dollar is.
I want everybody to be their own country. Do I agree with Singapore and their style of government, which is incredibly authoritarian? But for the most part, I guess people aren't all. I mean, they're okay with it. If that's what you want to do, I guess. I don't know.
It comes down to the
But you're not a giant. You're not giant, which is going to ruin everything.
Yeah, but that's where I think, like, where a global economy or like the United Nations is great on paper, like most things. I mean, again,
Communism's great on paper.
democracy's great on paper. Capitalism is great on paper.
Yeah.
But in practice, there's very few that actually, if any, that actually work for an extended period of time.
Well, that's because people are messy. I mean, we're complicated. Humans are complicated, messy things.
That's where we go back to modern monetary theory. Maybe you just have to swing the other way, and you're like, actually,
let's just go bananas.
Lean into it. Lean into that. Yeah. That's the side of it where I've always thought like, oh, well, there's no right way to do it. So why wouldn't you just go like?
Let's just go pure anarchy.
I'll make an analogy of like baseball in the mid to late '90s into the early 2000s. It's or bicycling in the Tour de France style.
Well, like, just let them do drugs.
Everyone's doing it. If I don't do it, there's no way I can compete. There's no way I can do this. So why don't you just lean into it? And I thought this for years, but like the NFL. The amount of people using HGH in the NFL has got to be off the charts, and it's never fucking reported.
Right.
It's the most violent game, and you've had more baseball players pop for human growth hormones than football players ever.
Do you think it's just because it's not like you're not personable? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if a linebacker from, a top 20 linebacker walked past me on the street, I would say, well, that's just a big dude. And that would be it.
But the weight loss, though, of a player when they retire, I mean, I'm not sure how familiar you are with NFL players, but Rob Gronkowski retired. Gronk, yeah, he retired. He retired last year, and he was off for the entire year. But he's since come back, and now he's playing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Why?
But one of the biggest things was that he lost so much weight in that year. He lost so much weight, and that's the hard thing to get back on.
Listen, you stop. Stop with weightlifting.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you like, and again, that's not HGH. I mean, you take HGH out of the situation. Now, I'm not saying whether or not Gronk is on the dope. That being said, I mean, you stop working out for 6 weeks. It is like a light switch with your body and your metabolism. It's crazy. Like your body gets, and talk about resiliency of the human body. That's it.
But what I'm talking about though is the recovery of week in and week out, your ability. That's what HGH. I mean, that's what it's been cited when people use it. They're like, I want to recover from this injury quicker.
Steroids.
Okay. So when you're looking at like a football player, and again, any football team, the most violent sport there is, then you don't have anybody that's popped. No one's popped for HGH in football.
Never.
Ever. You're telling me that I know you don't like conspiracies, but like you're telling me that out of all 32 teams in the NFL that
with 100-man rosters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then practice squads and stuff as well. You don't have one guy that's like, I'm just going to use HGH. No, and I've already seen it too with the COVID testing. Are you aware of what's happened with the I think it was last weekend?
I think you mentioned it in passing to me,
but there were 10 teams that came down with significant COVID tests, and over the weekend, and then on Monday it came out. It was those were false positives. Those were false positive tests.
Yeah, you did mention that.
There's some rate of like 0.01% of players coming testing positive for it. It's like, again, they're not living in a bubble. Everyone's operating like normal. It's a very shady practice of reporting.
Self-reporting, yeah.
Yeah. Where
I don't know.
You're getting into you're trusting a lot that these people are just telling you the truth all the time. Because mainly at the end of the day, people want to watch football. They really want to just watch football. And no one wants to hear that bad news. Like if I can just believe that these people are killing themselves, that's the whole thing with like CTE and concussions and stuff like that in football. Everyone knew that.
Everybody knew, like you got punch drunk after 20 years.
Yeah. But no, I like watching those big hits, and I like watching football. So no, we're just gonna sweep that under the rug and not talk about it.
Here's a question for you, and I remember somebody saying this like years ago, that Okay. Everything about the game of football has changed, except for the most part, the dimensions of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Should we change the dimensions of the field? Should we make it 10 yards wider? Should we make it another, 10 yards longer on each side, 120 yards? I mean, what's your feeling on that?
In pursuit of what?
In
Safety?
pursuit, like just to spread out the game. I mean, everything has became bigger, faster, stronger, but the size of the container has been the same.
I mean, I think they do that in the CFL. I think the CFL has a bigger
Do they have a little
field. What?
They have a bigger field.
I
want to say,
pretty sure.
Are they 120?
But I don't.
Are they meters?
I'm not a huge fan. I've never.
Are they using meters up in Canada?
Maybe probably in CFL. Yeah, they might. But I've never been a huge fan of sports changing to try to continue to grow popularity.
I don't think this is a popularity thing. I think this is just like an overall like, hey, I mean, listen. I mean, we're wearing the helmets, the pads.
So it's in the guise of safety,
right?
Or in the pursuit of safety.
In the pursuit of safety. Everything else about this game has changed. I mean, from the roughing the quarterback to the helmets that everybody's wearing. That's all completely changed in the past 50 years.
The things changing, like,
but the field hasn't changed.
I see your point. I don't understand. I mean, if it increases the safety of the game, sure. But also, I'm not a huge fan of just changing the game because we're trying to change the game. I don't think a lot of the things that any organization do in any field, it's not because they really want to do that. It's because of the public perception of it. NFL held the concussion data away from the public because they didn't want the bad PR.
Yeah.
And then when it came out, they're like, oh, no, we are, hold on, look at all these commercials about how we have like done all this work to do it. And the same things happened with COVID and everything like that, or the Black Lives Matter movement or anything like that. Like these organizations that come out and they're like, oh, we've done this. Here's what we've done. Here's what we've done. Here's what we've done. They're not doing it because that's what they believe. They're doing it because they want public perception. Yeah. They don't want that mob mentality to turn against them and to be, just attacking them. I remember when we went to New York last year in June.
Gorgeous.
And it was just everywhere. It was Gay Pride Month. And then just every store, every major store was just rainbow flags. And it's okay. Again, I don't have a problem with it. That's fine. But then I saw on Reddit, it was the Tobias Fuke. And it said somebody is like every major organization on July 1st. And it was Tobias Fuke going, and scene, And that's exactly what I felt.
You're 100% correct.
Because they're doing it to virtue signal.
I think that's probably the definition of virtue signaling, is things like that. I mean, between Black History Month and Gay Pride Month, where we have to put a well-crafted public relations statement out there.
Yeah.
Now, do you have the practices in place to back up? We support minorities. Okay, well, your board is consistent of 99 white guys and one black woman. Sure. So you tell me, like, how much are you, your leadership team is made out of X, Y, and Z. You're not there actually supporting, these, oh, you care about this, but then you're not following through on any kind of leadership, any kind of hiring practices, anything like that. And that's super frustrating. And that's where,
again, all of these things are so difficult to talk about, and they're so difficult to have a rational conversation with one person, let alone tens of hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, which is what you need to do in a country, which is ridiculous. But like how the Black Lives Movement and the NFL have been intertwined this entire time. It's a good way to look at it because this season, I mean, remember it was
4 years ago. It was 4 years ago, like this weekend.
Yeah, where Colin Kaepernick taking a knee was the reason why he hasn't been pursued to be a quarterback. Now, there's also another thing of, does he make more money not being a quarterback? Like, there's that argument. And there's that conversation because, again, he was a fringy starting quarterback.
He's not an all-star. Like,
no, he's
not an all-star, but I think he's like,
he should have been on an NFL roster.
He was a perfectly acceptable quarterback.
But but on his side, because again, there's two sides to every story. There's three sides a lot of the times. Like, is it make better business sense for him to be an activist?
I don't think
than
so.
It does to be, because I know I'm going inside baseball here with you on football.
No,
but they were talking. Are you familiar with the Chicago Bears quarterback situation?
Who do they have? McCann? No.
So Mitchell Trubisky is a kid that they drafted second overall. They traded up one spot. They passed up on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Where's Lamar Jackson in that?
Lamar, he was drafted another year later.
Oh, okay.
But so they drafted this kid second overall. He's been a bust. And they traded.
That's tough.
They traded for Nick Foles, who won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, to do a quarterback competition. All right, in the spring, and the coach came out and said, like, I'm not gonna name a starter before week 1. And the speculation is that if he were to name Nick Foles, the Super Bowl winning trade commodity that they just got, week 1 starter, and he fails, they're all fucked. If they give Mitchell Trubisky one last shot and he fails, they're like, well, we gave you a shot. Now we got to move on.
Right.
Yeah, we gave you that shot.
Okay.
To the point where Colin Kaepernick, like, if Colin Kaepernick takes a job in the NFL, let's say there's a world where he got a job, and he went out and he didn't play well
for the Browns, or who's another absolute garbage team?
Talking shit about the Browns, though. Okay.
Listen, I watched Draft Day. You haven't.
No. But to if Colin Kaepernick goes out and he doesn't play well, does that kill? Easy now, easy, son. Okay.
That's it.
You dick.
See, I pushed your buttons because that was a fun thing.
It's fun. It's fun, and I reacted
because it's the Vikings. And they're god awful.
They're not god awful, but you're missing my point. You're not listening to my point. Is if Colin Kaepernick went out and played and he played poorly, does that kill everything else that he was doing?
Okay. But he wasn't god awful like that season, right?
But he started that season. He never didn't. He actually regained the starting job that season whilst kneeling. But he became a free agent afterwards, and then no one signed him. So if he signed,
but why would you release somebody that gave you a winning season?
He didn't have a winning season. No. Okay. He was an okay quarterback on a bad team.
I think,
but to the other side of the coin of, like, for him, he stood to lose more by going out and playing football. He needed to show that, and this is the theory, that he wanted to play football, but he wanted starting quarterback money. He wanted a starting quarterback job when he wasn't operating at that level. And if he were to go out and get that job, and he were to go out and get that and then not perform, does that kill everything else? Does that kill the $100 million Nike deal that he got after he stopped playing?
Was Johnny Football? Where's Johnny Football in this?
He is doing billboards for some B-level.
No, but was, like, at this point in time, like in 2017, was he? Was he signed yet? Who was signed at that point? So he could have played for the Browns. I'm trying to think.
That would probably have been. He would have been out. Actually, he would have been.
Was he out? I'm saying, like, you're telling me that Colin Kaepernick would not take, the worst team in the NFL, or the second or top third. Lower third team.
Upon reports, there were teams that offered him like a backup role to be able to do that. And again, it's a business. It's a business more so than it is just sports. Okay, so if he takes a backup role and he doesn't get a chance, he's just sitting there holding the clipboard, because that's what he was doing before. While he was taking a knee, like when he started taking a knee, he was the backup in San Francisco.
Oh, was he now?
Yeah. Oh. And he was a starter before that. He took him to the fucking Super Bowl as a starter. but his game fell off so much that they were throwing everybody out there, and based on injury.
Did they bring out a rookie? I'm trying to remember. What was the deal? They brought in somebody pretty young, right? Didn't they bring out a rookie or sign a rookie?
They had
like I can't remember. Go on.
But when he was taking a knee, he was a backup. He was benched because of injuries, because of performance, everything like that. And he regained the starting role, and then he kept playing. But again, the controversy about him kneeling, and I guess how it all is tying it back to what we were talking about earlier, is that the way that it's going to be handled this year is completely different than how it was handled 4 years ago. They're going to be celebrating the fact that they're kneeling versus it being a controversial thing of we're not going to show the national anthem, on television and everything like that. Because that's what it came down to. Like, we're just not going to show, we're not going to do a feed. And remember, do you remember any of that?
Keep players in the locker room.
Yeah, keep players in the locker room. Like, do you remember all that stuff?
I remember that. Yeah. I remember having a very vibrant discussion in Mobile, Alabama with a guy about, how it's disrespectful. I'm like, it's like, I know you don't want to hear this. I know, but I'm telling you right now, this is about First Amendment stuff.
Yeah.
This is a First Amendment problem. This is not about, and I don't like, this is coming from somebody who has not enjoyed the weird nationalism that has been tied into athletics. I think that's weird.
It's weird.
It's a very weird thing. Before a play or a music concert, we don't all sit there and put our hands over the hearts and recite the Pledge of the Allegiance. Yeah. We don't do that.
Do you want to go into why that is?
I don't remember why we don't.
Well, why we do.
Why do we do this?
Because it's a training ground for the military. Because football and sports and athletics are
team-based things.
Team-based things. You follow orders and you do what you're supposed to do.
But what does that have to do with nationalism? I don't know. I'm just saying, as a spectator.
Because here's the thing. A lot of high school kids that play football, when they inevitably don't get into the college that they wanted to go to play football or to do the sport they wanted to do, a fun thing to fall back on is to go into the Army, or that was the game plan. I mean, I want to take my time machine, and go back to 1972 and go to a high school football game in No Name, Iowa, and see if everybody stops and puts their hands over their heart for the national anthem. Okay. And then I want to take my time machine again, and I'm going to go back to 1952 and see what's the same thing. I don't necessarily buy into your argument. Of course you don't.
No, well, because
of course you don't. No, it's not about strategic tactical maneuvers or any militaristic fall in line, do what I say.
I think
there's not a general, there's not a coach that telling you what to do all the time. There's not a no. There's no analogy to be drawn from football and military. None whatsoever.
I think but you can also say the same thing about in high school band, everybody's got to play their part. You play your part.
Yeah, there's a band.
There
used to be a band in military.
And there's one guy who's going to be in charge, and he's going to tell you when to start playing and when to not. And you're going to have a laid out plan where you have to play the exact same thing at all points.
Yeah. So, have you ever read anything about assembly lines and Henry Ford and just crushing the souls of people to get them to do what they want because
he paid money for it.
But this is the thing. When you're looking at formation of getting a society to do what you want them to do, you have to have these things in place to instill these values at a very young age. Military, sports, all those things, they're team-based things where you either learn or you're washed out. And if you can't do your job, and if you can't fall in line and work with others, then you're washed out. You don't get a chance to progress and go forward. Especially in something like football. Football is very militaristic.
When did they start singing the national anthem, at baseball games?
In the 1800s.
You think they did that because of the military?
No, but that doesn't negate the point.
So there's not some grand cabal in 1982,
Yeah.
1882, where, hey guys, our baseball games.
You're just gonna take the extreme version of a conspiracy theory, and then that's all you're gonna do. Like I'm saying
I
that
think-
over time, and especially when you look at a football team and how you play football is very militaristic, and there's a lot of those things built into it.
Also, I think there's an extreme level of individuality in football. When you come to thinking about linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks or running backs or
You have military contracts that the NFL has.
I'll talk to that. I think that's complete horseshit. I think that's
The U.S. taxpayers pay for
so
the
much
flyovers
money for flyovers
because of a deal that the military and the NFL have.
and they think,
and you don't think there's some kind of
I think that there's
the linebacker from XYZ place in anywhere in America. Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
The guy that didn't get into the college has no other thing because he didn't fucking care about any grades or shit like that. Has no other thing to do, and he just falls back on the military. You don't think that happens at all?
While I do think that does happen. Okay. I don't think it's some grand scheme.
You're thinking like this Dr. Evil board of people.
We should put a bunch of money.
These are PR people that are like, hey, well, you know what, the plus side is that we look uber patriotic. We look great. The bad side another kind of nice fun thing that happens is that everyone else that wanted to play football also might want to just go fucking be in the military now.
I don't think so. I think there's a weird.
But you just said that people. There are linebackers that were in high school that decide to go into the military.
I don't think there's not that many. I think
a lot.
I think it's more of poor people join the military because they don't see another way out.
Yes, but again, that's another thing that happens with people that football, especially football. It happens in a lot of poor areas. It's especially in the South. I always remember Brian Urlacher, Bears linebacker. Yeah. Are you familiar?
Yeah, he does some great work for a hair growth.
Hair growth, yeah. He had a story of coming from this little town in, I want to say Arizona or something like that.
Sure.
Basically, all you did was work through the factory, or maybe you could play football. Football, military, or the factory was the way you got out of the town.
Sure.
Or the way you could make
money.
A living. And he played football and he got out but you've been to Alabama, you've been down south, those little towns, you could be a high school superstar and live your entire life being a high school superstar. And
I think well,
and if you fail, there's very little options outside of
right.
And again, is it a grand cabal of people being like, we're going to get everyone to play football, and then when they don't, they're going to join the military?
Well, why is it? Okay.
But it's a PR team saying well, here's the thing. If we do this deal with the NFL, they will associate NFL with patriotism, uber nationalism with serving your country. We get these guys that have already just beefed up to play football, and they don't have anything else to do, and they're already in the mindset of follow orders, do what you're told, serve your country, be an American, love it or leave it. I mean,
of the handful of dudes
okay,
that I knew that joined the military from my small town.
So really big sample size.
Right.
Okay.
Two of them I would not say were uber patriotic. They didn't want to be, they didn't know what else to do. And that's what they did.
There's always it's a pie. It's a pie.
And that was them. I mean, and then there was that one kid, he was super duper patriotic. I mean, just he wanted to go in the army from 7th grade. And sure enough, he did. And, he's not a career guy. But anyhow, I think he played football, but he was a little bit younger than me.
Oh, okay. No, but no, that's fine. What I'm saying is wrong.
I mean, he played football, but we all played football. Not we all played football, but I played football
because you came from a small town.
Because it's small. I mean, small town. Well, no, that's just
you're proving my point.
Also, every single one of those dudes were in band as well.
I played in band with a guy that got drafted by the Bears. So, I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think I know
It happens when you come from a small town where you're doing multiple things and you want to diversify.
Right.
It's not, everything's not Degrassi High, you know.
It's where shit gets real. My thing is, it's weird that there's a weird patriotism, nationalism that's folded into athletics. I don't think it's, once again, some kind of grand cabal. Is it like them being opportunistic? We're like, okay, there's baseball's America's pastime, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and just be uber patriotic around baseball, and then that's leached into absolutely every other part of athletics.
Hold on, but to that point, like even if they're going to leech onto it, even if again, like I'll put you into the PR room where they're like, we don't have this plan, but here are the things that could fall off. Here are the ramifications of this action. One of the ramifications are like, oh well, when we do this, when every other commercial on an NFL game is a military commercial, does that like bleed into this subconscious of people watching of like, military service, NFL, I'm an American, like uber national. Do the numbers go up? I bet there's a PR firm for the Army or for the military that has that information that know that like, well, since we started running these ads, service or whatever the fuck, enlistment has gone up XYZ. As being as close to entertainment as you are, you can't say that there's not people in that industry that would have that information and be searching for that information. Everything's a calculated move.
Well, of course everything's a calculated move because TV contracts are expensive.
Yeah, so why would they just leave like, well, no, we just want to be uber patriotic because that's just our American duty, and we're just going to leave it like that, Bill. And then
no,
I'm not going to hear anything more.
I think my thing is, okay, that here we are, today's society. I don't think it was the Iowa National Guard or the U.S. Army or the Marines or whatever in 1944 or whatever.
Inception's a different conversation, though. I'm talking about like right now. I'm talking in our lifetime.
Has the military spent more money advertising under, the most popular sport in the world? And not in the world, in America? Yeah, they're going to put money into people who are like active people.
For what reason?
In America?
For what reason?
Because they're not going to advertise on the VMAs.
For what reason?
Why are they not advertising on the VMAs?
No, for what reason are they advertising on? Why are they advertising at all? They'll remind us that we have a military?
No, because they need bodies.
Right. They need bodies that are watching the thing that it's very similar to what they're looking for. It's the same way. It's the same reason when I'm watching a television show and I get an advertisement of something that's like, are you watching South Park? Oh, you might also like this. It's the same thing with like YouTube when you're watching. So
why aren't they advertising on the VMAs or whatever the young folk are watching these days? Why are they not going after specifically young people programming?
Because dollar amounts are expensive.
I'm
because
guessing
it's very
the age
expensive.
demographic.
Yeah, it's very expensive. And the amount of people that they would get from the VMAs versus they would get from football, they'd get much more for football. So
not if they just sit there and hammer on it for 20 years like you're saying, right?
No, because again, with something like the VMAs or something like a music awards show, where you're
not the Grammys,
you're celebrating individuals and individual creativity much less so than listen to what I'm telling you to do. This is your assignment. You do your job, and you do it right. That kind of thing. That mentality is in football. That mentality is in sports all over the place. That's why it's so closely attached to it. Now, whether it nefariously started that way, like that's neither here nor there, but it's where we're at right now.
It's here and there, quite frankly.
But it's where we're at right now.
Right. I think there's a weird thing where it's been co-opted, and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you and I we do a lot of high school sporting events, okay?
Yeah.
So organically over the time that we've been doing this, I've been doing it with you for 4 or 5 years now.
I don't know. I don't know you.
Anyway, The amount of
yeah, right.
But the amount of
high school sports, yes.
The amount of high school kids that we see that are uber patriotic, and they make a theme out of it. And I remember going to high school and never having that. And we went to high school through 9/11 and never did we have this uber patriotic. I'm going to wear all American flags. It just happened the other day when we were doing a game. It was like
on Friday's game.
Oh, you're not wearing an American flag? Oh, you don't be on the field. Don't be on the field. You're not wearing an American flag. It's like, where the fuck are
what are you talking about?
These high school kids in the stands. I'm like, what the hell is going on with you? Like the amount of camouflage, the amount of
trolling. That's trolling.
Sure.
That's a lot of trolling. Now,
it's tied into the thing that we're watching.
Now, this is a problem for me. This last summer, it was a softball game, and the announcer said, "Now we're going to play the national anthem to honor all those who've died in service." Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not why we play the national anthem before a game. We don't play the national anthem to salute those who
dead or the fallen.
To fallen in service of our country. That's not why we do it. We don't honor. That's not why we do it. We play the national anthem because it's a great country and we should celebrate us being a great country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, we're not. And flipping the script on Colin Kaepernick of if you don't stand with your hand on your heart for the flag and the anthem, then you're a total piece of shit who hates the troops.
Right.
And you're not doing
it's a very hard line to connect, but yes, go on.
That's
the narrative.
That's the narrative, and that was when I heard that, I'm like, no.
Go back. How did you get there? It's almost like he missed a whole portion, where he had a sign that was like, and also I don't support any of the troops or anyone that's ever fucking died in the military, and then just held it.
Who, me?
No, I'm just saying it's that to get to that point
to that point.
No, he's kneeling because
he's kneeling. No,
because black people are being killed by police. So I'm pretty sure he said that.
He's done people that he
clarified that.
People who he believes in, people that he. What's the word I want to say? Relates to are being shot by a horrible, system.
Right.
And needs to be fixed.
So we're gonna look it up, and I want to just clarify because it was one of those things where
you said something racist, and that's okay. We all say something racist sometimes. I forgive you.
No, I was gonna say South Park nailed it again. When they went to J.J. Abrams' house, and they're like, J.J. Abrams, you fixed Star Wars. Can you please fix the national anthem? Because this. And then J.J. Abrams' fix was, all right, in honor of America, we're going to play the national anthem. Please feel free to sit, kneel, or stand in honor of America. And then at the end, no one knew what to do because it was like, that's all you got to do. It was the same national anthem, but it was just feel free to
That's funny.
Sit, kneel, or stand. So, the Star Spangled Banner turns out it had World War I.
Sure.
Okay. So
that was kind of the rise of American nationalism, American exceptionalism. Well, actually, the World War of Spanish-American War.
I blame Teddy Roosevelt.
I mean, you should.
Son of a bitch. It wasn't really a common occurrence at sporting events. Began to change on September 5th, 1918 during Game 1 of the World Series between Boston Red Sox and the Cubs. So again, you can blame the Cubs for a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's an era where the Red Sox...
I mean, have you been to Wrigleyville?
Not the updated one, no. It was an era when the Red Sox still had Babe Ruth.
Yeah,
okay, I got you.
We don't care.
So it was around then. So around World War I. But...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is that just mass gatherings? And... I've always found it weird. I've always found it weird that there's this weird nationalism around sports, but not around other large grouping things.
Yeah.
And I say that anytime I watch a city council meeting, and I'll watch a city council meeting because I think it's fun sometimes. And they start out every city council meeting with them saying the Pledge of Allegiance as a bunch of awkward 70-year-old kindergartners.
Mm-hmm.
It's like. Well, I mean, I guess this is a very civics-minded thing, but I still feel like this is out of place
Yeah.
But it's not out of place for everybody to, now it's time to salute our country. Or, hey, let's celebrate. Let's honor those who've fallen. When I heard that, I'm like, I don't know. I was kind of.
Yeah, I don't think that's the.
That is not why we do this. And I think.
And maybe it is. Maybe that's the problem. It's the interpretation of why we do it. At a sporting event.
At a sporting event. And should we all take it? And I don't. And every so often, like, it'll hit me, that wave of not nostalgia, but like, okay, I'm going to take a second and I am going to recognize that I have been born in, as Craig Bratton would say, I've already won the lottery. I was born in the USA, baby. That's something, like, I do recognize it. I was not born in, Kuala Lumpur or, some, place that is stricken by extreme poverty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to deal with it. I do have
Right.
some level of social mobility in my life. And I accept that. And I love that. And I respect that about my country. Is this a great country? Yeah, I'm going to say it's a great country. Is it a flawed country? Absolutely. But it's a lot better. I'm in a lot better spot now than I could be.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. And it's so divisive, but it's also one of those things where you're like, it's that jump from what is your interpretation of it?
Right.
What is it seems weird to you and I think we share that, like, that the national anthem, that the nationalism is attached to a sporting event.
Yeah.
Or the pride in your nation, I guess. Because again, nationalism itself can be like a trigger word where you're like, I don't think they're like skinheads and Nazis that are like, that's the reason why we play the Star Spangled Banner.
Right.
But it's this uber patriotism that exists that kind of, I don't know why it's attached to a sporting event.
It's weird.
But other people, then I can also understand that there are other people that have a different interpretation of why it's happening and they have a different attachment to it. So for them, it's like, why I'll wear a mask in public. Do I agree with it? No, but also I don't want to. I'm going to give a little bit of myself to make you feel better. I'm not going to like obstinately take or like hold on to my hat or keep my hat on or like, fuck around and do anything like that during the national anthem. Cause like, I just don't want to cause a scene. I don't want to fuck with anybody. And because again, it could mean something completely different. I've been in a situation where it's like somebody was, fought in a war and they're right next and they, it means something more to them than it means to me. So I'm not going to take that away from them. And like, I would do in any other situation. I wouldn't want to take something away from somebody if it's meaning something to them, but also I'm not going to stop somebody from voicing their freedom of speech and allowing that to be use whatever power they have to voice a concern. That's the whole point about this country.
And that's my thing with Kaepernick. And when he made that decision to do that, and it's like, okay, all right, you feel that you are having an injustice. There is an injustice in the country, and I'm trying to highlight this injustice. Now, does that mean that I hate America? That I hate everybody who's died in service for our country? That's a huge fucking leap.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Right.
No, this guy is specifically talking about police brutality and the amount of power and authority that people who aren't elected officials, who are hired and paid for by my tax dollars, are going out and putting into our community. And that I don't like that. And I think it's too much. And I think we've gone too far. Okay. I don't think it's too far. Okay.
In a dichotomy, yeah, of one thing meaning two different things to two different people. Right. And then understand that like that can happen. Like you can live in a world where we hear the same thing, but we get something different from it. And we use that, in a way that allows us to It's a tool. It's just all it is. Colin Kaepernick has fame and a celebrity that allows him to use that as a tool if he needs to be, and that's within his
That's it. That's
right to do so.
He should totally be allowed to do that and go and do it. And for you to take offense, I'm interpreting his actions, even though he's not saying anything about what I'm saying. I'm going to take that as offensive and fuck you. Well, that's crazy talk. Yeah. You're not listening.
Just like Nicole Hutchinson being a business owner here in Dubuque, Iowa, and also being a white woman with blonde hair who killed a man in Texas. Well, they're two different people, but
right. At the end of the day, I think we solved racism
again. We did it multiple times.
And I think this could be a podcast.
This could be a podcast. We'll really look forward to the football season coming up here. We're gonna really get into this. Hey, thanks everyone for listening. Be sure to check us out at Twitter at TCBA_podcast, as well as give us a review on Apple Podcasts. And
those ratings and reviews really help a lot on Apple Podcasts. But check us out on YouTube, because sometimes, get this, if your boss doesn't know, he lets you watch YouTube sometimes, and you can just have it in the background. Just play it.
Yeah, and leave mean comments on YouTube, because we like that.
I love a good mean comment. Just say something absolutely ignorant. I'd love it.